out of that, how am I going to choose one or two locations, right? So that aspect will decide on the next class. Today, what we are going to consider, or today what we are going to discuss is what are the few considerations if I have to select a service location, right? Service facility location considerations. So there are many kind of parameters or many way to look into this strategic location consideration. We'll go one by one. Flexibility. What is your long-term plan, right? So it is not always that okay, this looks a kind of a very like kind of cheap location or a kind of not that much costly, and so let's build a hotel there or let's build a restaurant there. But does it have a long-term vision that okay, some colleges, some hospitals are coming nearby, right? Competitive positioning, that is again how your competitors are doing, right? Based on that, how you want to position your service location. Demand management, some services need kind of access to roads, right? Like let's say hospitals, right? Hospitals cannot be in an interior side where road facility is not available, right? Because if road is like facility is not there, no matter how good your hospital is, right? People might not travel there. Who will travel 30 kilometers, 40 kilometers, right? They'll always go to the nearby hospital. Focus, some narrowly defined service at many locations, right? What is your vision, right? And that is where your fast food restaurant come into picture, right? So they don't want to give you 1,000 options in food. So fast food restaurant, whichever you see, might be 15, 20 or maximum 30 food options. So they are not like a 5-star or a 3-star hotel where there will be 200 options to choose from, right? Competitive clustering, again, it is related to competitive positioning, and we'll discuss that in detail. We'll discuss what is the difference between competitive clustering and saturation marketing. And there is something called marketing intermediaries, right? Think about in a product, whenever we are selling a product, whom do we call marketing intermediaries? Those distributor channel, distributors, dealers, retailers, right? So those are our marketing intermediaries because they are taking the product from us and selling it to customers. So who will be our marketing intermediaries in service, right? Substitution of communication for travel and separation of front office from back office. These are the two strategies some companies are doing. And additionally, we'll discuss something called the location-based services, right? How companies are leveraging those information on location and creating different services around.
Sir,
Yeah.
can you please explain that competitive thing?
Yeah. I'll go one by one. So I have not actually discussed anything. So I was just giving a short brief what we are going to discuss. I'll discuss each one of them separately. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Flexibility, right? Think about. So like I said. So what happens whenever you are building a infrastructure, right? Once you fixing up your location, what happens? Moving that, it is not possible to move because that is a physical infrastructure, right? Think about a hotel or a restaurant. Once you decide that okay, here only I'm going to build mine, and once building is complete, if you are renting it, that is different. But if you are building, it is your own space. Again, I'll not say that it is not possible, but it takes a lot of effort. You might have to dispose, you might have to sell up that property, then again buy new property, right? So lot of strategy, lot of long-term vision has to come in that picture. If you are building a service, if you are building a hospital, the next class will discuss on that, how that decision criteria changes. If it is a government location or if it is a private hospital. If it is a government hospital, how, on what basis you decide. If it is a private hospital, how you decide, right? So those are the some parameters we'll discuss in the next class. But those are the point you have to remember. What is your long-term vision, right? Facility is a long-term, capital intensive long-term commitment, right? So if you are building certain infrastructure, you are putting certain money in it, right? Suddenly you cannot change it. Your location, your service location should be in such a that regional economic downturns, it is not affected by. Obviously, COVID is certain such a scenario, right? Nothing can be done, right? So if you look into the right side of the kind of image, right? So I've taken I think this not a recent one. I think I took this snapshot on last year. So there is a site called cruise ship tracker. So if you go to that site and you will look into this kind of map, and you will find that there are many cruise ships, right? Those provide like kind of luxury transportation from one port to another, right? You can visit Europe, you can visit Africa's coast, and you can travel for months and months, right? So there are different route towards it. There are different kind of the path or the way the cruise ships travel, and actually it keeps changing, and that is the interesting part. Few years back there was a problem with Somalian pirates, right? So that time what happened? Your cruise ships generally, rather than going through one route, they started taking longer routes to avoid the Somalian pirates. Sometime back there was a issue with China's southern sea. So that time the route location changed, right? The like kind of the like kind of sizes or the like kind of the path they take, it changed. If you remember, like I think last year there was a big kind of problem on the Suez Canal. One ship got struck. So initially they thought, okay, it can be solved within few days. So ships started waiting because those are the not the cruise ships, that was the transportation ships. But when it started getting delayed, and there was a huge loss, I think in billion of dollars, the kind of economic cost it happened. So why am I telling you that? It is not about the cruise ship, it is not about the transportation ship. But what happens, it is the necessary industries. So whenever a cruise ship is passing from one port to another, right, in between there is certain locations, there will be always maintenance and repair activities, right? Or let's say transportation ship is going from India to US or India to Africa, right? In between they'll go to certain ports for maintenance or repair activities in between the travel. But if they're changing the route, let's say Suez Canal was not operated for 1 month or 2 months, so obviously the route was changed. So nearby that port, whenever those maintenance or repair activities, they will have a huge loss for those 1 month or 2 months. But the Somalian pirate thing came, or the China had a trouble on the southern sea, those problems will occur. So if you are into those ship maintenance and repair, so that is the industry you are in, how you are planning for that? Do you have an alternate location? Because if you are just locating, okay, this is the most, like I will have only in Mumbai, or I will have only on Egypt, or I will have only on Thailand or Philippines, my like in the port near Philippines, Thailand, or let's say in Chennai, that might be a problem. Because sometimes what might happen that these kind of sometimes due to economic downturn, like due to COVID, there are a lot of like for I think initially when COVID hit, it reduced transportation by 50 to 70%, right? So do you have alternate locations, right? So that is where your flexibility will come into picture. That's why what this restaurant or hotel do, big hotels obviously, if it is from ITC, Tata, Marriott, obviously they have to own those space, right? They need to have that freedom. But small restaurants, generally they will not have their own building. If they are having their own building, they're doing a mistake because they lose that flexibility. Just imagine if you are taking a rent space on rent, right? Whenever you want to move, you can move from one place to another. If you want to shift your restaurant, you can move from one place to another. But if you are having that own building, unless you are a kind of such a restaurant or a hotel that people will come to you, no matter wherever you are, right? So you lose that flexibility, right? So that is somewhere ability to react to changing economic situations, right? Uh, and it can be very small details also. I am basically from Bhadrak, and like whenever like right now there is a discussion, and already the court has shifted from one place to another. They are shifting the medical, right? So think about those hotels, think about those restaurants which built around that place, right? If they are owning those buildings, owning those spaces, it becomes very difficult disposing them and moving to another place. But if you are them renting, that gives them the flexibility, right? So that is where if you see most of the like service locations, product obviously, because you have to do certain kind of customization of that space, you need to own that space most of the time. But in services, most of the companies try to rent that space rather than owning that space. Right? That gives a lot of flexibility. Any questions on this? Competitive positioning, right? So this is an interesting aspect, right? So last slide, what we discussed, discussed about the flexibility, right? How quickly you are moving from one place to another, right? Let's say economic downturn come or one place you are not able to. There is a lot of shifting, right? Let's say hospitals or port moved on, or there is a college and college has shifted from one place to other. Think about I think I don't know how many of you have to KIT campus. The number of hotels, restaurant near KIT. In case I don't think it will happen again in future, but let's say KIT moves their campus altogether from place A to place B. So do the hotels, restaurant, if they own that place, they won't have that flexibility, right? But here what we are discussing on the competitive position, right? Sometimes you need to be at certain places. It might be costly, but you might need to have that space to just to like kind of compete with certain competitors, right? So some like spaces are there in Mumbai, Delhi, Mumbai southern part of Delhi, even southern part of Mumbai, right? So you might not make a margin because the land cost, rent, and all those things will be costly. But unless you are there, you will not able to create a image among your customers. You will not able to create a perception among your customers, right? So that is where what happens, say whenever those big infrastructure projects comes, some companies, some malls start already booking space there, putting their advertisement, putting their hoardings around there, right? It might be very costly, like rent space in Mumbai and if you Delhi, in those parts, if you go South Delhi and South Mumbai, cost is prohibitive. But still, companies want to be there because it creates a image in their customers' mind that okay, this company is in this premium place. This company, this like let's say Starbucks will be mostly in those premium places. Obviously, they have another kind of objective also because obviously post area or the premium areas, customers will be able to pay 300 or 500 rupees for a coffee, right? None of us will go and pay that kind of money for a coffee, right? So their strategy is acquire prime location before market is developed because they know that once like kind of already infrastructure is developed, it will be like kind of costly to acquire that, right? So if you see MACD, Starbucks, KFC, and all those kind of franchises, basically, they start. So whenever they provide you franchise, right, the first criteria they look into where is your location. Do you have a location? Do you have a land? Do you have a building? Or which building or which place you want to rent, right? And if you are able to get that space, get that area before market is developed, right, you'll be able to make a good, like, because that is where your competitors will become later on, right? And that builds a lot of market awareness in your customers, right? They know about your kind of product, they know about your company, and they look you, see, like customer whenever he looks into different places, okay, your hotel, your restaurant is there everywhere, so there is a particular image is created in their mind, right? So that is where your competitive position. So always remember, positioning is in the customer's mind, and it is always relative to the competitors. I cannot say that okay, I am a premium product. Premium product with respect to whom? So when I say OnePlus, or when I say that okay, if I go to take let's say American Airlines, or let's say this Indigo, or let's say Tata Vistara, is it a better airline or a premium airline to another one, right? It is always with respect to, right? So that is where you build a competitive positioning, being in premium places. Any questions or any doubt on this?
Sir, if this hotel, like the restaurants near Kit, if Kit moves its building from place A to place B, will they also move or will they stay in the same place only? Because they will lose a lot of customers if they
Yeah,
stay in
so
the same
yeah,
place.
so that is the dilemma. Think about yourself. If you have that kind of business, restaurant in KIT campus, near KIT campus, if you're renting that space, it will be easier. I'm not telling you will always move. right? There might be other considerations also, right? Without it, how much business you are getting, right? So think you, if your business is student dependent, if it is a restaurant, obviously it is 90% of the customer will be student in nearby whichever restaurant or hotels nearby KIT campus. But if it is something different, let's say medicine store, you need not have to move. Obviously, students come to your campus to take medicine, but still till KIMS is there, you need not have to move. If the hospital is staying there, you need not have to move. But if you are a restaurant, because you know that 80 to 90% of the customers are student, then you have to think. And that is where the flexibility will come into picture, because if you own that space, if that building is your, like you have constructed that, that is your land, it becomes very difficult, right, to dispose
Yes,
it
a lot
again
of
totally,
cost is,
right?
yes,
That is
lot
where
of
the
cost.
flexibility is. So that is where most of the like service industry work in rental spaces rather than owning that space. But if you, because if you own that space, your flexibility goes away, right? And it is not only about the service. Think about our own cases, right? uh, Whenever you get into a job, and people do that mistake a lot of times. I have seen my friends, they start buying, like when they moved into Bangalore, they started buying a like kind of on loan those flats or those apartments, and they stayed only for 1 year or 2 years, and they have to move to Delhi, Mumbai, whichever, wherever their job took them. So that is always, it is not only about the service product, it is only also about the story of our personal lives. That is obviously owning your own house, owning your own building gives that pride. Renting gives you the flexibility. And when you take that renting space in a business, flexibility of moving from point A to B, depending upon these considerations. If your customers are moving from point A to point B, can you move there? Right. If you,
Sir,
yeah,
in case a very renowned restaurant moves its location from point A to point B, will the customers also move to point B?
not necessarily. See, customers, see, they, in this way, to answer your question, generally what happens, customers will always have lot many choices, unless you are kind of a brand like the slide it shows Starbucks. So the first outlet opened in Starbucks. I was in Kormangla, and it opened nearby, man, 1 kilometer, 1.5 kilometers from my place, right? So the day it opened, my friends told, okay, let's go and have a look how Starbucks looks. By the time I reached, it was, you will not believe, it was 1.5 kilometers long line just to have a first day
Okay,
entry. It is not nothing that okay, people they know, and most of the people might have gone there in different outlets. It is just having that experience. So again, if you are a brand like Starbucks, it might not happen with a MACD or KFC. It is not that okay, for a MACD people will travel 20 kilometers or 30 kilometers, and that is where your premium image comes into picture. If you are like kind of a that kind of ambience, that kind of experience, people might travel. But again, it will be very like kind of difficult to bring that kind of image in customers' mind.
okay, sir.
Uh, Competitive positioning. Next is demand management. So this is again an interesting aspect. Think about the hotel, right? Where will you build the hotel? So one aspect can be how people will travel to your hotel or a restaurant, right? It can be nearby metros, or it can be a combination of where the metros or the road or railway line meet. So if you look into the like, I think most of you might have traveled to airport and railway lines, right? It is very costly to have hotels nearby airport, because the airport area also is large. It is, most of the hotels are not allowed inside, to like most of the like kind of hotels will be outside that. But in railway stations, what happens? Once you go out of the railway station, within 500 meter, 1 kilometer, there will be many options, lodges. That is why, because it is the demand management. You know that where the customer flow is coming. Same thing what I was talking about, that is same example what we discussed before. When you are building a restaurant, you need to build a restaurant nearby hotels, nearby either these colleges, universities, or offices, right? Whenever let's say these uh, big software companies are there, because you know that you will have a customer inflow and you can manage that. Unless you are a big brand like Starbucks, you will be in a premium place. You know that wherever students are there, student will come there because they need to have that experience. Or office people will come there to have that kind of experience. So you have to move to that kind of like uh, you are moving to your customers' locations rather than customers moving to your location, right? So that is where. So the first thing we discussed on the flexibility. So these are not that okay. I decided on flexibility. I'll not think about customer positioning. So these are all aspects you have to consider when you are building your own startup or own space, right? One consideration is flexibility. So if customers move, can I move my facility? Second is positioning. If I'm a premium brand, I cannot be in a very like a remote location, cheap location, road is not there. No matter how much rental space I have to pay, I have to be in a premium location. And most of these spaces like kind of make losses. In the premium locations in South Delhi, South Mumbai, the amount of rent, the amount of money you spend on expenses only. But companies, restaurants are there just to show that okay, that they have that created that premium image. Next one is demand management. How you live, where those customers come, right? So these are like kind of big kind of this in USA and Europe. Whenever this big artists like let's say Taylor Swift, Kanye West, or whichever right now Drake, right? So most of the hotel companies have that kind of tie up with those big artists, not directly with the artist, those managing company who are managing those artists. Because accordingly, because if those like kind of artists have those shows nearby their hotel, their resort, those people, those audiences who come to those shows, they'll have a huge kind of a customer inflow, right? So there is a lot of tie-up between these artists, those companies who are managing those artists and those hotel companies. So locate near a diverse set of market generators, right? Just don't depend on only one side. Like if I'm a restaurant and I just only depend on college students, though they might be the 70-80%. The problem is that in case in future that college moves, I might not have any customers left, right? So that is where remember whenever you are putting your location, think of it can be like let's say right now if you look into Fit Campus, behind that side that Infosys, TCS, Tech Mahindra, all those companies are there. Can it be in the center that okay, companies people who can come to my restaurant also, students can go to also my restaurant, right? So in case some companies move, some companies let's say get closed down also, I'll always have a demand for my restaurant. People will always come to my restaurant. Because I have a fixed nature of facility, I have to look into diverse set of market generators, diverse set of demand. Any questions on this? Focus. This has not much into the facility location as such. It is how you design your facilities, right? So this is where the franchise option comes into picture. If you go to McD, KFC, Domino's, Starbucks, if you are taking a franchise, right, all your location has to be kind of same. So when I say location, the layout kind of thing, right? How it looks, the all the like coloring, the paint, the way the signages are there, everything need to be uniform. You cannot make those changes, right? So that is something known as a cookie cutter approach. Cookie cutter means whenever we're making cookies, right? If I say that okay, you like kind of make cookies on your hand and then only like put into micro oven, right? So you will create different shapes, right? But if you have a cookie cutter, right, it helps you to create or make same shape, same size of cookie, right? Same circle. If you are creating these circular cookies, so if you have a cookie cutter, it will help you to create those circles, right? Rather than if you're making in your own hand, it might not be same size, right? Same thing here. So it is a lot to do with the size. If you get into MACD, KFC, almost all of them have a, obviously there will be always a difference in, it is not that exactly they have to build in the same way, but they try to make that uniform, right? So that in customer mindset also they have, okay, it is MACD, it is KFC, right? Even with a small symbol also, whenever you put, they know that okay, this is MACD. You need not have to write MACD, right? and they are so habituated with TO process that they have to go stand in the line, pay the money, they have to bring the food, right? Earlier in India, very few restaurant used to have that, unless this kind of Western style kind of fast food joint came to India. Otherwise, our kind of setup restaurant was that we'll go to a restaurant, waiter will come, take the order, again will come back. Unless you are like a food side, like a roadside, you are standing and eating out. Okay. So that is where the focus is on that customer's mindset, what the customer thinks about your company, right? Having the same image, having the same process again and again. Competitive clustering. So this is an interesting thing, and I have a video. I'll share in this slide. You can see that later on. So this is an interesting question, and people have done a lot of research on this. If you have traveled on a highway, right, wherever you have gone, long distance travel, right? So what will happen for 50 kilometers, 60, 100 kilometers, there will be no restaurant, and suddenly either side there will be 5 or 10 restaurants, and then again for 50, 60 kilometers there won't be any restaurant. Same thing generally with the petrol pumps also. You'll be traveling suddenly in a space within 1 kilometer range or 2 kilometer range, there will be 2 or 3 petrol pumps, gas stations. But again, for a 50 kilometers or 80 kilometers, unless it is going through a city or going through a town, you will not find any repair shops or restaurant or any kind of petrol pumps. So this is known as a competitive clustering, right? So most of it has been seen that most of the companies, most of these kind of service industries. So when I talk about this petrol pumps or let's say restaurant, right? They try to cluster together, right? Can anybody think of one of the reason why? Take the same example what I took in the highway. If you're traveling, most of the petrol pumps will be. So when I say it is not that within 100 meters all of them will be there, but there will be a stretch of 2 to 3 kilometers when petrol pumps are there. Then neither for next 20, 30 kilometers nothing will be there. Similarly, restaurants also, if you're traveling on a highway, suddenly there will be a junction, there will be area where all the restaurants are. And it is not necessarily near the city. It is not necessary that it is not that, okay, a restaurant will be near the city. That's why whenever you go past the city or the town, that's where the restaurant will be there. It will be a blank space. It will be like kind of a secluded place, remote area. But restaurant will be there, and both the side of the road, the restaurant will be there. Then again, there will be long stretch. Can anybody think of why? What is the reason?
So maybe there are more lighting and all. People will prefer that all the restaurants are there. So we will choose which one to go for.
Okay.
We have more choices and options as well in that area.
Okay. Any other answer? So there are two ways to answer it. One way you're looking from the customer side, what is written here actually. So if you go to a hill station, resort area, right? Or let's say a railway station also, if you're moving out of the railway station, most of the hotels, lodges are very nearby. 10, 15 lodges in a single place. One of the reason is if obviously if it is a peak season, right? Customers come and they do not find a room in some hotel, right? They'll go to the next, right? So there are a lot of choices and competitors. You know that you might lose certain businesses, but here there is a greater chance that if a customer is not getting certain facility, or if they can compare also, they'll go to a hotel or a restaurant, they'll compare the price, they might come back to your hotel, right? So that is where you provide that flexibility to customer, and you also might gain certain revenue, because if let's say the hotel, like I was giving that example, right? Hotel is booked already, then obviously customer won't have any choice and come to nearby hotels, right? So that is where nearby railway stations, airports, almost all the hotels are close to each other, right? So that is where if you see the repair shops also, right? Generally they will be nearby. Service centers will be nearby. Again, there are a lot of, it is not that that is the only consideration. Like I said, other considerations also there. So this is if you are looking from the customer side. Other aspect is if you are looking into the example I was giving, if it is a remote locations, highway, right? Other aspect is from the infrastructure sharing side. most of the time what happens if you are building a restaurant in a near the highway and you are the first kind of restaurant or a hotel you are building, you have to spend a lot of money to bring electricity, water to that remote area, right? You have to go and talk to the nearby municipality. How will you bring water to that area? How will you bring electricity to that area, right? To get that connection, how will you take a road from the highway to your kind of a restaurant or a hotel, right? So that is where that cost sharing happens. Most of the hotels and restaurants who are nearby, if they have to bring electricity, water connection, or let's say they have to build a few like small roads, so they are able to share that cost. So one part is looking from the customer side. Obviously, they are competitors, but now what happens, because they are able to share the burden of the infrastructure to bring that electricity, water line, road, right? And that is where they, rather than, because if you are putting your hotel again 5 kilometers in a distance, all the electricity connection, water connection, you have to pay on your own, right? But if you are nearby, you can have that discussion with your competitors and share that burden, right? So that is another reason. One reason, obviously, due to competitor, will have a choice, and most of the times it happens if you're traveling across Mumbai Pune highway or Bangalore Mysore highway, right? Or even in this from Balesur to Kolkata, whenever there is this hotels and
Sir,
restaurant, they will be nearby.
so this
Yeah.
was in the case of remote location. And sir, what you said about these airports and railway stations, what was the concept, sir?
People, customers, see, both the considerations are there. It is not only for remote locations. One is obviously, even in the remote locations, customers have multiple choice, right? Let's say there is a cars, and if you are traveling from let's say uh, Mumbai to Pune or Pune to Mumbai, right? In between there are lot of, in one location there are a lot of restaurant, hotels. Generally what happens, customer will go to one restaurant or one hotel. If it is crowded, they'll go to the other hotel, right? So that is where the customer consideration comes. Customer have lot of choices, lot of options. So let's say there is a non-veg hotel. You build a veg hotel nearby. So you know that those customers who are kind of only eat vegetarian food will come to you, right? So that is again a strategy. You will get your customers. Because generally in a highway, people will locate, or people will stop at one location. They look into different hotels, different restaurants, complete like. So they cannot keep searching every 5 kilometers or 10 kilometers, right? So that is where you are looking into customer side of point of view, right? And you know that obviously if you are nearby, yeah, nearby a customer, you might lose certain business, but also you are adding certain businesses also, right? It is a plus minus cancellation. Customer competitor might take certain customers from you. You might also gain certain competitors from customers, right?
Sir, what about petrol pumps then? Why they are located in short spans?
Again, the same thing, right? Again, there is a criteria. See, most of the petrol pumps are kind of public sector facilities, right? Think about Indian Oil, Hindustan Petroleum, Bharat Petroleum, right? So there is actually a different regulations surrounded it, unless it is a Total or a Reliance, right? They cannot be near within 500 meter or 800 meter. There is a certain guideline. Second is, most of them share the infrastructure. Let's say IOC petrol pump is kind of running out of fuel. So what happens if the Hindustan Petroleum oil tanker is coming? Some part, 20% or 30% of the oil, they will give it to Indian Oil. Same thing, let's say in future something happens, Indian Oil give it to Hindustan Petroleum. So so in this case, the material sharing happens between these petrol pumps. Almost all the public sector companies, because again, all of them are Indian government, the major stakeholder. So they share this kind of infrastructure. And there is also a regulations around it, how much distance they will be close to each other. So if you see, whenever Indian Oil or Bharat Petroleum is there, I am not sure whether that regulation is still there, but that used to be there. They cannot be at a distance of certain kilometers, but within that range, generally they share the whatever the infrastructure, or in this case particularly, whenever let's say oil tanker comes, if your petrol pump is running out of petrol or diesel, whichever raw material, generally they provide you that.
So
Yeah.
if if I am starting a new business in a remote location area,
Yeah.
then a new competitor comes to me and asks me for that electricity and water. Then what are the benefits I am going to get?
You will get whatever cost you had, like you have built that infrastructure electricity line, right? Some part he can bear and take the electricity connection from you and the whatever the road connection from you, right? Rather than building his own road to his own hotel. Right? Basically, you will be charging some part of it. If
And
somebody is
despite
taking,
that, I'm not getting any customers from that, right? Because it will be new to
nobody is
that
going to
area.
nobody is going to give you customers. So it is not that there will be agreement that okay, you give me 10 customers and I'll give you 5 customers. So generally it doesn't happen like that. But what happens if you are nearby, right? If that restaurant is overloaded, people generally know if it is overcrowded, right? People will go to your restaurant. In vice versa also. If your restaurant is crowded, people will go to the other restaurant. So generally it won't be there, okay, I'll give you 10 customers or I'll send you 10 customers in your way. It doesn't happen like that. It is just a situation arises in such a way that most of the places, what happens if 3-4 restaurants are there, whenever customer come, if they see that okay, already people are 80% or 70% occupancy, they'll go to the next restaurant. So what happens generally, almost all the restaurants are 70 to 80% occupied. So as a customer also think about yourself, you are traveling somewhere and you are hungry. There are 4 restaurants, right? So you will go to a restaurant, you see that already it is 60 to 70% filled. You look into the other restaurant. If it is, let's say, 30 to 40% filled, you will go to the other restaurant also, right? Unless you have a very strong preference for certain like kind of meals or a certain kind of food.
Sir, what are motel chains?
These kind of regular in nearby in US and all those things, what happens near highway, right? You can keep your car that it will work as a garage and you can stay there, right? So it is a kind of a food services are not there generally. It is just for a night or a 1 day stay. You just take the room and stay there. Food services, when it comes, it will become a hotel. In India, most of the times it will be hotel, stay, lodging, and boarding.
Sir, sir, what I seen in Gujarat side, sir, mainly petrol bunks are tie up with the Domino's, McD. How they make a tie up and how they govern that restaurant, sir? How they make a profit from that? What is the
Petrol pumps
criteria for
won't
that?
make any profit on that, right? So it is generally what happens, those franchise, that person who has taken, right? So he might, let's say, Jubilant Foods is in India, they are the main franchise who have taken McD and KFC. Or Devyani Foods, right? Devjan Beverages for Pepsi and Coca-Cola, all those things. So depends upon who has taken the franchise. So generally what they'll do, they'll go and have a tie-up with those petrol pump owners or that whoever owns that petrol pump, right? Again, it is not company owned, company operated. Most of the times which is operated by persons like them, like individuals like them. So there it is basically you will have a extra space or extra area and there McD or a KFC or a Domino's are putting their shop. So it is not that Domino's or McD or KFC are coming to you. You have a space, you are going and talking to those who has taken a franchise. So most of the time those Domino's, McD, whichever space you are talking about, those petrol pumps, that is again that franchise is taken by the petrol pump owner. See, Domino's, McD won't come to you. You have to go there and take the franchise. So it is basically you have a petrol pump, you have certain area, you know that customers will prefer customers. Let's say there are certain highways. People will come and it won't happen if you are moving from Pune to Nagpur because that is a transportation route. Lot of truck drivers and all those. Those people won't stay in McD or those people will not stop at McD. But if it is a route from Bangalore to Goa or let's say Pune Mumbai highway, lot of customers this weekend travel. In between they'll stop for a McD and KFC. And if you have petrol pump nearby in that route, it is actually a good business decision to have also a McD or a KFC. And most of the times it is the franchise is taken by the petrol pump owner or that gas station owner. It is not like a tie-up. Most of the times it is owned by them. Owned in the sense that franchisee again, not the shop. Clear?
And sir, suppose some company gives the services of warranty service or guarantee service of 5 years. In that sense, sir, how company makes the profit? Suppose sir, Videocon gives the service of a guarantee service of 5 year extension. In that case, how they make the profit, sir, from that service?
So it has nothing to do with this competitive plus. Is it related to this? Or you were asking out of
Yes, sir.
curiosity?
The service part, sir. Suppose a company is giving the service, the guarantee service of 5 years. In that sense, sir, how they, if the Videocon washing machine goes wrong after 4 years, then the guarantees are there, still left. Then how the company makes the profit, sir?
No, you are asking on the terms of competitive clustering, or it is a different question altogether? It has nothing to do
No,
with
sir, it's a
competitive
terms of
clustering.
no, sir, different from the competitive clustering. It's a service part, sir.
Yeah,
Suppose
so
company
again,
gives
it
the 5 year guarantee service.
whenever a service, let's say think about this Videocon example. If I take a Videocon is providing this air conditioners, Videocon air conditioners, or yeah, whatever is there providing electronic
Yes, sir.
washing machine, right? So lot of warranty and service has to come from your data analytics, right? How quickly, how much time it takes for your components to fail. So if you look into air conditioner, some air conditioning company will give a 10 years warranty in compressor. Some companies will give 5 years warranty on compressor. 1 year on the kind of SC, 5 years on the compressor. Some companies will give 2 years on the air conditioners, 10 years on the compressor. So it is always on the component failure data analytics. So if you are using a good component, you are guaranteed that there is a 1% chance only that it will fail within next 10 years. Then you can provide that guarantee. So they are not making a profit. But what happens? Just compare. Whenever I'm going to buy air conditioner, and there are two companies. One company is providing me 10 years guarantee, other company is providing 5 years guarantee. What kind of image you are creating in customer's mind? So I will always believe the company which is providing me long-term warranty, that is a better product. And I might pay 10,000 or 5,000 more for that if I am able to pay for that. So it is not that they're making a profit. Obviously, if component failure happens, they will repair it and they have to bear that cost. But what happens? That 5 years warranty, 3 years warranty, or 10 years warranty, it cannot be very subjective. It has to be objective decision based on the data analytics. There is a reliability team, component reliability team, most of the manufacturing company, who is basically based out of the plant. So whenever procurement management manager sources this material, the reliability team will be one who will be looking into the kind of reliability of those components. If some of you have taken this TQM class, you'll come to know the equation of reliability. If component A has a reliability of 80%, another component is reliability of 80%, and they are working on parallelly, right? The total reliability of the system will become 80% multiplied by 80%, 64%, right? Same thing with the compressor also, same thing with any components of a product. So they calculate the reliability part of any product, and they know that what is the chance of failure. If the chance is low, then they'll provide an extended warranty. It is not that they're making a profit on that. It is just that they're creating a image that, okay, my product is very good. My product quality is such that it will have a 10 years warranty. My competitors are only providing 5-year warranty. And that will be your marketing agenda. That will be your marketing punchline or tagline, that I'll be providing a warranty nobody in India is providing. I'm providing a guarantee nobody in India is providing. But if your competitor also providing 5-year warranty, or all of you are providing 5-year warranty, then there is no competitive difference, right? To answer your question, do they make a profit? No. If it is a warranty or guarantee, you have to bear that. But if it is an annual maintenance contract, that is a separate strategy. Like this HP, Dell, or whichever company your laptop on, there are 5,000 or 10,000 laptops it is buying for the student. After 1 year, 1 year is guaranteed, then in another 3 year or 2 year, there will be extended warranty. For that, kit is paying money. In case there is a failure happens, that company will take care of any repair or maintenance activities. But what happens? It works like insurance, because whenever they're taking money, they're not taking only for one laptop or two laptops. They're taking the annual maintenance contract for 5,000 or 10,000 laptops. And they might have done a calculation. Okay, in a year, 5% of the laptop might malfunction, might have manufacturing problems. And they'll calculate on an average, they spend 1,000 rupees and only 5% laptop malfunction. What is the cost? It is just like insurance. From insurance, premium is taken from all the individuals. But whenever a health issue happens, it will happen for 5% or 10% of the customers, unless this kind of COVID kind of situation happens and the percentage increases. So to answer your question, do they make a profit if it is under your guarantee or warranty? No. Obviously, it is a cost to the company, right? But yes, if it is annual maintenance contract, because the customer is paying you money for that additional warranty or guarantee, right? And if the equipment doesn't fail, they'll be going to make a money. Same example, Videocon. If a customer has taken a 5 years extended warranty, has paid 2,000 rupees, and equipment doesn't fail, so they're not looking only with a single customer. There will be 1 lakh customers or 50,000 customers across India. Out of 50,000 customers, how many malfunction will happen within next 5 years? If it is 10,000 failures, 10,000 multiplied by on average failure 5,000 rupees. So that is the total cost. But out of that 50,000, if you have taken 20,000 or 25,000 have taken extended warranty. So 25,000 customer, whatever your extended warranty cost, 2,000 or 3,000 or whatever you have charged them. So that again becomes a calculation game. And that a lot depends upon your reliability of the components, reliability of your equipment. If I've just done those, given that warranty guarantee without calculating that, many small companies do that mistake, then you will be a kind of a failure, long-term failure. Does it clear your doubt? Any other question? Location decision, go through this small animation, how these two ice cream stands come closer to each other. So I'll not go through it. Second aspect is saturation marketing, right? So what we discuss on the competitive clustering is different competitors, different companies are being at a single place. Another aspect of this location criteria is same company will have different outlets in the same space. Generally in India, you will not see this kind of example. This cafe also is basically a kind of, I think, Boston area in US. But that is again a strategy, and why it is that we'll discuss. So remember the difference between the two. Competitive clustering, different companies are in a single space. Competitors, hotel chains, motel chains, repair shops, petrol pumps, restaurants, they are competitors, but they are grouped together. They are in a very close location to each other, right? Here, what happens in saturation marketing? Same company, let's say KFC or McD. In nearby kit, there is only one KFC, one McD, and one Domino's or two Domino's, right? But if I start putting Domino's everywhere, 4 or 5 or 6 locations, right? It looks like a foolish idea. It looks like a not logically possible that, okay, why you should put 5 or 6 or 10 kind of same companies outlets in a single location, right? And this has happened for this cafe, which is around 25 cafes within 100 yards, right? Around 250 meters apart. So within a 2 kilometers or 2.5 kilometers range, they have around 25 cafes, right? So this is again, if you look into the reasoning out of it, right? Reduce advertisement, right? You need not have to have each store have to have run those advertisement. Single outdoor advertisement, you can know that, okay, next outlet is within 250 meters. Next showroom is at a 500 meters location, right? Easier supervision. So see, for all the restaurant cafes, right? Obviously, chefs, waiters all be there, right? But you need managers, you need administrative people who are managing those, right? if your locations are far, 20 kilometers, 25 kilometers, 100 kilometers apart, right? You need to have supervising manager for each location. But here what happens, for 25 cafes, you can do away with 5 managers rather than having 25 managers, right? For each cafe, rather than having a single manager, for 5 cafes located very near to each other, one supervising manager, right? Customer awareness, again, right? Customer do not have any other choice. You do not let competitors to have that space, right? You take all the area available there, right? So again, it is not that okay, you decide and do that. You have to do a cost benefit analysis depending upon the rent, depending upon how many customer will come to your store, right? If you believe that in the long term it makes profit, then only you go by this logic or go by this. It is not necessary that all the companies will follow. Generally, rarely companies will do that, right? Having, but there are certain advantages like we discussed. Less cost of supervision, less cost of advertisement are the major two advantages. Intercept impulse customers with little time to shop for it, right? So generally what happens whenever you go to a mall, right? So and that is an interesting thing about malls, all those if you are in Bhubaneswar Esplanade or all those DN Regalia, whichever mall you have gone into, right? Or in Kolkata, whichever mall or whichever location you are from, right? One thing you will observe always is that the restaurant, eating food outlets, food joints will be always on the top floor. Because what happens once people travel, generally, let's say you have just gone for a eating out only, right? You'll go through all the foods, even if you're taking a lift, at least you'll go through all the foods, you'll go through all the at least few shops, right? There is a greater chance that customers will buy that. Second is that once you are at the top floor, even there are a arrangement of lift, elevators are there. After traveling, so after let's say you have gone there for shopping, whatever options are there, you'll eat it out there. If let's say you want to have a burger and McD is not there, whatever options local burgers are there or Momo is whatever is there, right? You'll eat out there, right? You'll not look that okay, let's go to the next restaurant which is nearby the mall because you are too tired to again even with the lift go to another location, right? After shopping for 2 hours or 3 hours. So generally, if you see in the malls, most of the malls, restaurant or the food joints will be on the top floor. So they don't want any customers just to come and they can have also those restaurants in the ground floor or the first floor. But they don't want any customer just to come for food and go away. Let them shop and once they reach the third floor or fourth floor, give them the and obviously then that is a psychological kind of aspect to it. Once you get tired, you will feel hungry. Once you have climbed 2 or 3 floors, traveled across 20 or 30 shops, you are hungry, you will go to the nearby food joint rather than going to another restaurant. So that is where they put those restaurant or food joints on the top floor of all these malls. Any questions on this?
The movie screens are also on top floor.
Yes, movie screens, but that is a different kind of reason for it. Generally, they will be in the top floor or the just floor below that. Right? Or in some cases, they will be in the in USA some movies like kind of uh, kind of the screens will be in the basement also, right? Depends upon one like you see all of this movie kind of earlier what used to happen this if let's say Hindi movie you are going to watch a Hindi movie or a English movie, right? There will be this whatever you call it, this cassette type. It will come to that movie hall and they'll run it, right? So physically, when I was a child and I used to go to this house, they'll run these cassettes, not cassettes basically, those reels basically, right? But now if you see most of the advanced movie halls or the screens, right? It is basically wirelessly kind of transmitted to that movie hall, right? In USA, basically most of the times it is wirelessly transmitted from one location to all the movie halls in a single time. So generally they'll prefer in the top because the connectivity will be little better. Second on the space and audio quality. If you are in the middle and there are nearby shops and all those things, will not have, because lot of in movie screens, if you're building a movie screen, lot of interior designing has to happen to have that sound effect, right? Dolby Digital and whatever sound effect you are doing, right? So if it is in the top floor, you'll have a little bit of more space. You know, other shops, no other restaurants are available. You'll have movie screens and all those things. So generally what happens, they'll have a movie screen in one side and food joints on the other side. So people will take whatever food and or they have that lunch and all those things and go to the movie. Right? So there are again some other aspects also to it. The fire kind of the like whenever in case of emergency, right? There should be a direct passage. If it is already few shops are there, in the movie hall, it is single point of time, 300 or 400 movie viewers will be there, audience will be there, right? So they, for them directly separate path need to be there rather than they mingling with. Think about this: if it is in the second or third floor, already nearby shops are there, it will be a difficult proposition, right? Because already people will be in the shops will be like kind of panicked and kind of running away here and there, and there will be persons moving from the movie halls also, right? So generally they'll prefer to have a separate, not separate, but at least for them there is a separate entrance for the fire exit. There are many aspects to it why they keep those movie screens in the top floor or the, if not in the top floor also, just below that.
Yes, sir.
Marketing intermediaries, not much here because most of the times, see, marketing intermediaries will come whenever we are inventorizing a product, right? Because there is only distributor dealer will come, right? So they'll protect the product, keep in their inventory and sell the product, right? So that is the concept of inventory. Can you store that product? In service, what happens? If you go into a movie hall, watching that movie, simultaneously they're screening it. You go to a hotel restaurant, they prepare your food and you are eating it, right? But some concept like banking services, like credit card, so that is where the intermediary can come into picture, right? So most of the this kind of marketing intermediaries, they generally tie up with different like let's say this uh, petrol pumps, petrol company, not only the petrol pumps. Generally, ICICI will might have a tie up with IOC or BPCL or HPCL. They provide those credit cards. So credit card is one of the example where marketing intermediaries might come into picture, right? So that means there might not exactly distributor or dealer. There will be few people in the distributor channel. So it is not that you are going to ICICI bank and taking the credit card, right? You can take a credit card from different kind of finance companies also, right? Who might have a tie-up with Citi or ICICI or SBI bank, right? So that is the meaning of this. In certain services like credit card, there might be a third party involved or a marketing intermediary involved from whom you can take the credit card. Insurance product, bank is providing insurances. Directly you can take from bank, you can take from the third party also, right? Third party, that third party will become a marketing intermediary, right? Credit card are distributed through many different channels. Credit card directly from the bank, marketing intermediaries, those small finance companies. Sometimes it is from the kind of petrol companies also, right? If you are a long-term customer, they will be providing you certain credit cards, right? Certain hotels also, big hotels like Taj, ITC, they have a tie-up. Right now, I think Amazon and Flipkart, they have also kind of a type and they are providing that kind of credit card. You can apply credit card through their sites, right? So that is where they play the role of a marketing intermediary. Any doubt on this? Substitution of communication for travel in some cases, right? Because generally what happens whenever a customer, so I know that I have exceeded time, just give me 2 minutes. Generally whenever a customer want to take a service, right, they have to come to your location, right? So that is most for most of the services, unless like credit card and all those things. And right now we have already seen that many things you can do online, right? And that is where we are coming back to this point. Sometimes location for the distance travel has been substituted by the communication. Think about all the food delivery systems. Right now, when we discussed this long time back, discussing about how Zomato or Uber, Swiggy have used that business model, right? What they have actually done, that communication has substituted travel. Earlier, what used to happen, if I am hungry and I do not want to cook food, I have to go out, either I'll eat outside or pack it from the restaurant and come back and eat at home. So that travel as a customer I used to do, right? Either I'll go out, or for packing also I have to go out, right? Now it is just done by a communication. I can just communicate to the Zomato food delivery app and they will go and pick up the package for me, right? Customer need not travel. Same thing is happening in a lot of health remote areas, lot of telemedicine. Obviously, you might have used Practo and all those due to COVID, all those net-made applications. But before that also, right? So generally, one of my cousin brother was working in remote location. So what happens sometimes if a critical patient comes? So each week there are Wednesday and Friday, some like fixed days are there, where they will connect with the head doctor or a kind of a specialist in SCB, Katak Hospital. So for any serious kind of patients, so apart from that also, if the emergency situation arrive, so there is a video connection, video kind of web conferencing. Long before this COVID, long before this kind of situation happened. So particular day, obviously there is a particular day, particular time slot is there. Even like kind of beyond that, there is a video conferencing facility. If a critical patient is there and the doctor is not able to find out what has happened or not able to treat properly, the doctor will call the senior doctor in particular hospital and they can connect through the video conferencing, right? So that is where communication is substituting travel, because obviously patient by the time he travel or she travels from remote location to here, he or she might die, right? So you are substituting travel for communication, right? Payroll, earlier, like my mother is a like kind of retired 7 years back. Before that initial 1 or 2 year, what used to happen, like she used to go to like those at least for the initial 6 months that happened, she has to go to the bank, sign certain document, then only they'll send to the payroll and the retirement, whatever the pension will come. Now those things are not there. Retirement money is directly coming to your kind of whatever the savings account, right? Otherwise, if you see particular day earlier 10 or 15 years back, old people, those people who are retired, they used to have a long line to get that retirement check, sorry, the pension check every month. So that travel has been substituted by the online transfer into your direct account, right? Free bank's office from congestion, because they used to go to the bank, deposit the whatever the check. Right? And now also in some cases it happens. If you go to a particular Thursday, first Thursday or first Tuesday of the month up to any bank, and mostly SBI and all those places, there will be long line. Those people who are still getting checks, and some government offices are there who still provide checks. They'll go and deposit the checks. And there will be long line. So that can be substituted by the online transfer of money, right? Directly deposit in your bank. Separation from front office to back office. So that is where you decide what is the role of your front office and what is the role of your back office, right? Restaurant, if right now in COVID, what happened? People earlier what used to go? They used to go book their table, then eat at the restaurant or a hotel. Now what happened last 2 years or before that also, most of the us are ordering food to home. So role of a front office has decreased in that scenario. So that's where the concept of cloud kitchen has come, right? People are ordering, so you need not have to have a front office. So what is the meaning of cloud kitchen? The front office part of your restaurant is not required. Only thing you require a space where whatever customer is ordering, that can be cooked, right? A cooking space. You do not have to have a restaurant. You do not have to that fancy interior decorator or designs, right? That front office booking things are gone, right? So that is what you have to decide. External customer, consumer, front office. Is travel out to customer or customer travel to site? Is that is necessary? Whether you have to go to the customer or customer has to come to you. Is location is a barrier to entry? Can electronic media substitute for physical travel? Like we discussed. Now Zomato, Swiggy, Practo is there. You need not have to go to the hospital. If it is not emergency situation, you can always like common flu, cold, cough, you can directly consult with a doctor and take medicine for it, right? So electronic media is substituting for the travel. what is the role of a back office? Is service pop up on a person or a property? Some things customer has to go, like let's say for that person has to come to me. Food, that say for those person who is preparing food, they need not come to my home. They are preparing food and food is getting transferred to me. But let's say barber, haircut, either I have to go to a barber has to come to me, right? It cannot obviously done wirelessly, right? Or it cannot be packaged, right? So that is where the back office activity, right? The actual whatever the service process. In a food, it is a different case. Food can be prepared and transferred. But somebody like people need a haircut, either you have to go or you have to book an appointment. Those barber will come to your home and give the haircut, right? That is why we discussed each co-location is necessary. Co-location means the service provider and the customer are co-located in the same place. For the barber, it has to happen. For a haircut, either the barber will come to you or you will go to the barber. But for a food restaurant, right now the situation is that I can order food to my home. I need not to have to be co-located, right? Internal customer employee availability of labor, right? Whether I have those required laborers or required employees who can provide that kind of service. Our self-service kiosk an alternative. So if you see all those food fast food joints, right? Billing part and all those things are kind of a self-serving kiosk. If you go to airport in COVID scenario, employees are not there to give you a boarding pass. You have to take the boarding pass from the automated kiosk. Right? So banking earlier, what used to happen? People used to go to, and till now also, still people are there who are, if you go to a bank, the tellers will be there. If you want to withdraw cash, you put your check or withdrawal receipt and they'll give you the money. But earlier that used to be a huge number of people. Every bank used to have 2 or 3 people who used to disperse money. But now most of the space has been taken by ATM machines. You need not have to have employee for that, right? Then in the back office, are economic of scale possible, right? So that is where the concept of cloud kitchen has come, because when you know that you need not have to have a restaurant in a single place, you can have a remote location, right? You can go to a cheap location and prepare food and deliver to different customer locations rather than having a very premium locations, right? So that is where the concept of cloud kitchen we'll discuss in next class. Can employees work from home, right? Some service activities, let's say customer call center, can they work from home? Amazon customer service center, Flipkart customer service center, or any kind of e-commerce website, they need not have to come to office. Those customer care executives, they can work from home also, right? Is offshoring an option? Can I send these activities in? And most of your call center activities has been outsourced or offshored from one location to other, right? It is not that if it is a company in America, American employees has to handle those problems. It can be offshored or outsourced to another country altogether, right? So I'll stop here. This is an example of cloud kitchen, and whatever is left out, we'll discuss in the next class. Yeah. There is a assignment, go through it. That is about the geographical identification system, and try to complete it by next, I think by Saturday. Or
Attendance.
yeah, roll number
2225, 225.
25. Okay.
Sir, I also missed my attendance. Vanshika, 171.
171. Okay.
So 0 to 1.
0 to 1. Okay. Anyone else? Okay.
Assignment is the individual assignment or group assignment?
Group. It is a group. Group.
Okay, sir.